Jacob. I'm here with Thatcher of Sports Coach. Thatcher has been doing Sports Coach, which is a solo project of his. He's been doing that for a little over 10 years. He's released a bunch of albums, got another one on the way, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Released a couple of EPs, over a dozen singles, and beyond that, he's got some solo instrumental ambient stuff under the name J Thatcher, which is some really cool material, which you should also check out. Very chill vibes there. And beyond that, Thatcher is an outdoor enthusiast. Does a lot of hiking, free climbing. Is that right? So we'll be talking about that a little bit as well. And just want to say thanks for your time. Thanks for your hospitality and everything, and inviting me out. So
Yeah. Of course, man. And I didn't know that you knew about the ambient project. So that's funny, man, because I like don't tell anybody about that music or whatever. So
yeah,
that's cool. Nice.
yeah, it's super fun. Like I've thrown that on
Research.
some stuff. It's real like I said, super chill vibes. I'm like nice, relaxing music. I really enjoyed
Cool,
it. So
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thanks for being here. First, let's talk about before we get into some stuff. Welcome back. You did a couple of one-off shows. You did one in San Diego and one in Chicago. So tell us about those. How were those?
Yeah. They were super fun, Chicago was unique just because I think it's only the second time I guess it's like the third time I've flown somewhere for a show. So that's always really exciting. And yeah, I was just thankful for the opportunity. This band, Future Nobodies, from Chicago, they put me on that show. We were both opening for this band from Texas called Haunt Me. And it was cool, because Future Nobodies is a band I definitely respect in the scene right now and really like them. And yeah, it was awesome to be put on like a good show out there, because I've never really been to Chicago. So it was fun. Yeah. And San Diego, super fun too. It was also opening for Haunt Me again. So it was funny. I played the first show of their tour and then the last show.
Nice.
And that was fun too. San Diego to me feels like a lot more of a local experience because I've got some good friends down there and it's always like a super casual vibe. Even the venues in San Diego tend to be a little more like relaxed than other places.
Right.
So yeah, it's always fun to play there. Actually, my next show coming up is like September 20th, I think, and that's also in San Diego. So I guess I'm playing there more than like almost any other city, which is kind of weird. But
Cool.
yeah. So they were super fun. It's always good to play live. Like playing live is definitely not my forte, and it's not the reason I make music for sure. I've been trying to like get better at it and stuff. It used to make me super nervous. These days I'm a little bit better with the stress of it. But either way, like it's always just me up on stage. So it feels like it's like almost like I don't know, it's stressful, man. So
Fair
yeah,
enough.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm always super thankful to like get the opportunity to play fun shows. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, Super good. Thanks for sharing about that. Cool. Yeah. So welcome back. Before we get into some of the music stuff and some of what I want to talk about today, which has to do with creative process primarily, some history stuff as well. Um, I want to start off with an icebreaker off topic. I mentioned in the introduction talking about your love for the outdoors.
Oh, cool.
If any of you follow Sports Coach online on social media, you're going to see these posts in just beautiful locations out and about through Southern California and beyond, and all kinds of other places as well. Um, just why don't we start with what got you into that? What's are some of your favorite things just about exploring the outdoors and just doing hiking and trailblazing and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, cool question because first off, it's kind of weird for me sometimes to share like my passion for the outdoors with like the music audience just because there isn't necessarily that much of an overlap. So sometimes I'm not sure if I'm like annoying people in a way or something.
Mm,
But for me it was not something I was like raised doing. Like I grew up in a family where like hiking and camping and all that, it wasn't really something anyone ever did. So it was right before I moved to Los Angeles. It was like 2017. Actually, one of my uncles was like an avid backpacker, and a really accomplished climber back in the day, actually. And he invited me on a backpacking trip with my cousin. So it's my first time backpacking, and he helped me figure out like how to get the gear and stuff. And so after that trip, it was just really it was just kind of a transformative experience for me. We went up like these two peaks in the White Mountains in New Hampshire,
Yeah.
and just being on top of a mountain and like having that perspective on the world is such a unique thing, especially if it's a mountain that like, you have to like scramble to the top of or something. It's just like
Mm.
this really rewarding feeling, and I'd never experienced that. So I moved just about a month after that to Los Angeles, and I wasn't like hiking. I didn't really know like how to still, just a little bit, but I was looking around the city and I'm like, dude, there are like these pretty, in my opinion, like huge mountains like right there.
Yeah.
And it's funny, a lot of people in Los Angeles don't realize like the the forest is literally right there. It's pretty easily accessible. So I just started going up peaks out there, just for fun. Like I started doing, obviously, like Griffith Park has a bunch of good hikes actually, and then there's another small mountain range in the city called the Verdugo Mountains, a little more remote, a little bigger. Started doing those solo, and then started going out to the actual Angeles National Forest. And I think Mount Luckins was the first mountain I did a couple times out there by myself. Because my girlfriend, my partner at the time, she wasn't into the outdoors either. Like we both weren't. It wasn't something we grew up with, so she was like pretty nervous at the time to get into that stuff. And
Yeah.
then we started going together, and she fell in love with it too. So then it just gradually became more and more a part of our lives. And these days, like it's just the most rewarding thing in my life. Just the feeling you get when you're like out in the wilderness is as special, it's not for everybody, but for me it's like really rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. The fresh air is so like life giving. The sights are life giving. Like I think our minds and hearts and souls, if you want to say it that way, are like attracted to like these natural colors, the greens, browns, all these different, and so many other colors beyond that you see out in nature, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Um, kind of concluding on this outdoor topic, do you have any cool exciting stories with like maybe some wildlife that you encountered, or maybe perhaps one of the coolest places that you could share? Either one of those would, just one
Yeah.
of the coolest spots you found, or maybe a wildlife encounter that you have.
Oh man. Yeah, for I guess I'll start with a cool spot because it's weird. Like with wildlife, I've encountered like a lot of small things and stuff, but I actually have never come across like a big predator. Like I've never seen a bear, never seen a mountain lion, which is kind of weird because I've spent so many hours
Right.
in the wilderness. And a lot of people that have spent less time have seen more. So I don't know. I just haven't been like blessed with that experience yet. But I'll think of something. But for a cool place, like I did a backpacking trip in Peru like 2 years ago, and that was like to this day the coolest experience of my life.
Right.
Yeah, we went out there to do this like big circumnavigation of this portion of the Andes. It's this trek called the Wash, and it's like, oh man, spacing on the exact number of miles. It's like I believe like 60 or 70, but don't quote me on that. But
Yeah.
it's like a 10-day trip. It was a huge undertaking. Most of it's above 13,000 feet. Mountain passes every day, so you can do a guided, but we tried to do it unguided. And yeah, unfortunately, we like tried to acclimatize really well. Did a couple hikes up to like 15,000, 14,700, like 14,700 feet, like the day before we went out to the trek and stuff like that. But first day out, we drive like 8 hours into the middle of nowhere. Like this dude gave us a ride that like through our like little hostel, they were able to find a guy that could drive us out there for like, the equivalent of maybe like $50. So drove all the way out there and then got to the hike. And yeah, we started getting up high. And yeah, my partner she was having a lot of trouble like catching her breath and stuff, and because we were carrying like 40-pound packs.
Wow.
um and yeah, the weather started getting bad too, and we just felt like we were definitely not acclimatized enough to be able to go further and further out. Because in Peru, like, they don't have helicopters for rescues and stuff.
Oh
So
yeah.
like if you get deep into the Andes and you got to bail, like it's going to be a really bad process for you. So we were
Wow.
just like, yeah, I don't think it's in the cards this time, which was a huge defeat. But we ended up coming back. We still had like 2 weeks down there slotted for the trip. So we came back to the city that we were staying in, which is called Juarez. And yeah, we found another trek that was only like it was like 40 miles with only one mountain pass. And so we ended up being able to do that trek, and we did that over the course of like 4 or 5 days, and got up to like 15,500 feet on that one. Again, like with 40-pound packs and stuff, and unguided, and that was just like a super amazing experience for me because like you're at the base of these 20 to 22,000 foot peaks that like have glaciers and stuff, and there's like real mountaineers there like going up these peaks, and like kind of being in that environment was like crazy inspirational in a way. And
Yeah.
just the nature itself, it's operating at such a magnitude that it's like hard to comprehend, even being in California and going to the Sierra Nevada a lot, like those are amazing peaks, but it's like it's crazy. But next, a goal of mine is to get out to the Himalaya to see like the actual, like, okay, I've seen the 22,000 footers, like let's go see like the 29,000 footers,
Wow.
So it's just like getting into backpacking stuff. It takes you into this rabbit hole of getting like deeper into these like more impressive natural spaces.
Yeah.
And for me, yeah, Peru was a highlight of my life. Yeah.
Wow.
And then yeah, wildlife. Oh man, it's too bad nothing significant comes to the top of my mind. But you know, I like seeing animals like when you're super high up and there's really not much life, but then you see like a marmot or something.
Yeah.
Like that kind of vibe is cool. But I've never had like a crazy encounter, which I guess is kind of lucky. Like if I was like, oh, came around a corner and there was a bear or mountain
Yeah.
lion, it's like that's a sketchy situation.
Oh,
So
for sure.
I like to think when I'm out there, I kind of believe that the big predators, like, they know you're aware, like they can sense it, and I like to think they kind of keep their space. Uh, Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but that's what you want when you're out there. You don't want to be sharing your camp with bears. Like that's a bad
Yeah.
vibe. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Wow. That is incredible. Thank you for sharing all of that. That's an amazing story. I remember you sharing those pictures from your trip to Peru. Those were really some spectacular sights
oh,
and stuff.
thanks, man.
So yeah,
Yeah,
very cool. Um, let's transition into some music stuff
yeah,
now.
yeah, man.
Um, so let's actually start from the very beginning, uh, and we could define that however. But basically, when did you get into music? When did you discover that you had musical aptitude?
Yeah. For me, it was like distinctly, I remember being in a like fifth grade, and it's when I don't know how they do things because I'm from the East Coast, and like back then it was like fourth or fifth grade. Some guy would come to your classroom and he'd have a bunch of instruments
Hmm.
that he would demo to try to get kids into like to take band because that was going to become a thing like in middle school or whatever. So
Yeah.
I just remember this dude like playing a little demo on like flute and saxophone and all these instruments, and just thinking that was really cool because I wasn't exposed to a lot of music as a kid. Like my family listened to music, whatever the radio, um, some stuff at home, but it wasn't like anybody played instruments or anything. So
Yeah.
I remember seeing that and being super drawn to the flute. Actually, I thought that was like such a beautiful sound and super cool. So I started playing flute in like fifth grade, and then by middle school, unfortunately, I was getting like super bullied for playing flute.
Oh,
It was
bummer.
like a bummer. So I actually transitioned to drums. I started playing like percussion.
Yeah.
Just because I think it was available in my school's band, and I thought it seemed cool too. So yeah, I started just playing percussion, and then it became a huge part of my life. Like all I wanted to do was play drums. So I would like show up to school early through like sixth through like eighth grade. I'd have my dad drop me off early, and then I would just like be able to practice drums at the school, and then I'd stay after school and play drums, and then that kind of obsession like continued all into high school, and I just music became like my entire existence. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it was when I was 14 is when I started um, making what would eventually turn into sports coach. Like, I started recording myself on my school. My school had like MacBooks with GarageBand, so I just started recording. It was weird. My first recordings were like ambient music made with vibraphone. So I would just like mic up a vibraphone and just play like, if any, vibraphone's a beautiful instrument
Yeah.
that can make, especially when you got the sustain pedal down, it's just ringing. It's basically like an ambient song in itself. So started doing that and just got super into it, and it's been my life like forever. Like, it's like kind of all I know is like being obsessed with music.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you still have that track? That ambient
Uh
xylophone track?
no, definitely not. Definitely not. I don't even remember
It's on the school computer.
yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
probably. I think back then my first ever project was called like Altus Home.
Okay.
Yeah, like a weird title. And yeah, maybe there's still a Bandcamp, honestly. I have never even thought about that, but
All the
yeah.
internet sleuths. Go find it.
Yeah, right. But nah, I definitely, I've made so much music in my life that
Yeah.
it's kind of like there's so much of it that's actually lost, like
Mm.
a whole lot of it is just gone, maybe somebody has it on a hard drive, but not me. Yeah.
Yeah. Dang. Um. So I remember seeing something. So you'd post. So you mentioned starting with drums. I remember you seeing you post something. You had some like some sheet music, and I had shot you a message. I said, "Hey, do you like are you like a formally trained musician? Do you like know how to read music, or are you self-taught, or like is it a combination of that?" So I just wanted to quickly ask about that. What would you say the answer to that is? Like, you know how to read music, or is it self-taught, somewhere in between, a little bit of both? Or
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's kind of like a little bit of both. Because I was definitely like trained, but it was really only on drum set. So I started taking drum lessons probably in like sixth or seventh grade, and then I continued all through high school, and I actually went to like a school in New York City with like a really intense jazz program.
yeah,
So that was like my goal, like in high school, was to like like that Whiplash movie, like not as intense as that, but I was like I was practicing anywhere from like 4 to 6 hours a day. My focus was not on academics at all. Like, I was definitely like basically failing school, but my whole thing was like, if I can play well enough, I'll get into a good music program.
yeah,
So I did that, and I only stayed for a year just because, like, one, it was crazy expensive, and two, the environment didn't really suit me. I'm not really an overly competitive person, especially not with other people. And programs like that are extremely competitive, especially among the students. It's not a bad vibe, but it's like everybody wants to be the best because there's not that many gigs. It's like New York City, and you're trying to be a jazz musician. Like, if you want gigs, then you got to be super good. Um, so I wasn't really into that, but I learned a lot like throughout that process of years. Like, I definitely learned a ton about drums and how to read drum music and how to play all kinds of stuff, from like concert percussion and like big band, or in like an orchestra, or like a concert band, to like big band jazz drumming, or all kinds of combo jazz drumming, whatever it was. um, but in terms of other music, like, I never really got into like learning how to necessarily, like, I know the basics of how to read like piano music, but it's not like I can sight read it.
mm,
Guitar stuff, I never learned how to like formally read any of that stuff. um, because with my own music, like sports coach, it's always been by ear. Like, I don't try to get technical with any of my theory. Like, I'm definitely growing up as a jazz musician, like a lot of those guys were obviously about like expression and the idea that they were masters of theory, but like when they're playing, they're not trying to really think about theory. They're more just trying to like play what they feel. So,
yeah,
with recorded music, there's a lot less pressure to like, it helps to know theory if you're like playing crazy jazz and the chords are changing every bar. But if you're sitting at home, you can apply the same principles of like doing what you feel in a more relaxed setting. And so I always just like did it all by ear. And maybe I don't know if I knew like proper theory. I don't know if it would be if it would affect like my creativity at all. I'm not really sure like if it would be cool, but my training is limited to answer the question. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just drums, and it's been so many years since I took that seriously that now I'd say like 8 out of 10 musicians definitely know more about music than I do, like for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing that.
yeah,
Um, you talked a little bit about kind of the beginnings of sports coach, how that began like kind of messing around at school with MacBook, GarageBand, making some ambient stuff, and how that kind of turned into sports coach. Maybe you could expand on that a little bit, as well as tell us about the name sports coach. And it's like I thought it was interesting. You mentioned a second ago you're not super competitive in sports coach. I think you've maybe mentioned something about this before in maybe a brief little story post, but maybe talk about that a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Well, the name specifically, it was primarily supposed to be like humorous,
Yeah,
ironic, I guess, because yeah, I never grew up playing a lot of sports or like even being super into sports. I'm from Boston, and Boston is like obviously sports are everything.
yeah,
And not just to like the people you think would be into sports, like even to like a lot of like say people there that you would think would be super into music or art, like they're still into that, but they also love sports. Like
yeah,
sports is like the culture of the city. So I think being in that environment for so long, I kind of like just felt a little out of place. And
yeah,
I don't know, it was like I was just looking for a new project, because I was making mostly beat music, like jazz hip hop beats or instrumental hip hop beats for years and years under this name Home. And I wanted to make like indie stuff, and so I was like, I need to rebrand the project, I guess, and come up with a new name and whatever. So Sports Coach kind of just came to me as like a funny thing. And then I was just bouncing ideas around with like my girlfriend, and I was like, what do you think, like sports coach or like sports dad? And she was like, oh, like sports dad is like too much of a joke, like you should do coach. And I was like, okay, cool, like coach, yeah. And I didn't think the project, I don't think I ever had any idea that it would go on for as long as it did.
yeah,
Like I made like an EP in like 4 days and put it out as the first thing I ever did. And it was supposed to be like kind of funny. Like every track on the EP has like, it starts with like a sample of a sports coach, like saying some ridiculous stuff that I just pulled from interviews on YouTube.
yeah.
And I messed with the idea of like, maybe dressing up as a sports coach and like doing all this, because at the time I was like 20 years old. I was a lot more I don't know, now I'm older and I'm a little more like closed off, I guess. But I thought about doing all that, in my opinion, kind of gimmicky stuff, which probably would have been pretty successful, I guess. But I just couldn't ever get myself to like take the name and actually turn it into this like character. And in a retrospect, I'm happy I didn't, because now that I'm older, like, I wouldn't ever want to be like pigeonholed into like,
Yeah,
okay,
trying to dress like Bill Belichick the whole time, right?
yeah, yeah, dude,
Right, with
exactly.
the hoodie and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So I just yeah, I just thought it was funny. There's like nothing significant to it other than like where I'm from, and it just being my way of kind of being like poking fun, I guess, at the culture. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Like
no,
some of my best friends from back in the day, um, are super into sports now.
yeah.
And I'm like, no way. And I'm like, that, that's pretty sick, because they're still the same people and now they're super into sports. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't take it that way at all. Sports are super
yeah,
fun. I enjoy sports quite a bit, but it's
yeah,
like I think it's a cool name. It's a fun name, and it definitely like comes off that way. But it's like it's fun. It's unique. It's
yeah.
yeah,
I do get like heckled occasionally at shows, which
really.
can be a little bit annoying. Just it doesn't happen often, but when I'm playing for audiences that, I'm not the headliner or something, they don't necessarily know who I am. Like people sometimes will yell like, like what sport or like random stuff like that,
Oh
which is cool with me, I guess. But it's like, yeah, it's just a name. It's
yeah,
literally could have been anything, and I have no idea how it ended up being that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here you are now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
10 years, 10 plus years into it. So
Yeah,
it's
for
awesome.
sure. And a lot of people call me like coach now, which I find like kind of funny as well, but that's just how it goes.
I'm gonna quickly add on to that. It's super funny. Like, well, we're playing new music. My kids hear your music. My kids listen to all the music that me and my wife listen to. Um, but it's like, oh yeah, listen to the sports coach. We call you the sports coach. We're just yeah, but
Nice, man.
oh yeah, this is the sports coach. So
That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I think it's kind of fun in the end for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is. I agree. Um, let's move on to uh, a bit deeper of this, like your creative process. Um, basically, you write a ton of material and you've produced a lot of stuff over time, and it's all really good. I don't think I've heard a bad song yet. Nothing that, in my opinion, has been something like, whatever, you know.
Damn. Thanks,
But
man.
yeah, yeah, I think you've always wrote a lot of really good stuff. What is your process like? Is it something that maybe you've distilled down to, like, oh, I always start this way? You know, maybe you talk about having drum roots. Does it always start with the beat, or maybe is there a different process? Maybe you have like a lyrical theme in mind that you're like, you know, I want to build off this and kind of make the musical sound fit this lyrical theme or whatever. What is that process like? Is it does it vary from song to song, album to album?
Yeah, yeah. It definitely does. It depends, like, I guess, almost on like what style I'm thinking about making. I mean, yeah, it's tricky for me. I try to stay away from like formulas. Like, there have been times in my life where my music has felt like too formulaic to me. Like sitting down and typically I would start with chords, like because to me chords carry like the emotion of the track,
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
and you can get the same thing from the melody too, for sure. But for me, it's like if I'm going into like a songwriting session, then I'll just be kind of improvising, looking for chords I like, mixed with like, you know, the I'm primarily using synthesizers, so like trying it's like the chord and the way it works with whatever patch I'm working with are like that's the bread and the butter to me. So it's like once I find something that for whatever reason my mind latches onto, then you know from there I'll just build it. I mean typically it's like chords and then drums and then bass, but I usually struggle with bass. It's really hard for me, and then melodies. But yeah, I try to stay out of like a formula, which I've noticed over the years too. I've switched a lot from working within like Ableton in like digital audio workstations to then working with more like MIDI hardware, which is what I'm doing these days a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And switching between the two can definitely vary my songwriting. Like I can get way more in depth with Ableton and do like Stranger Things and cooler um, details. But there's also something that's very organic about working with purely hardware. So it varies greatly into the process itself from album to album. But yeah, it's tough. Like also making so much music, it's easy to make songs that, in my opinion, sound like other songs. So I try to just kind of go into like a little trance when I'm making music and just not think about it too much. Because if I do, then it'll feel like to me like a little inorganic. Yeah,
Right. Just let it flow out very naturally and just kind of, hey, this is what's supposed to come right now.
yeah, exactly. Like yeah, you know, there are a lot of bands out there that are super successful because like for better or worse they're following a formula, and there are a lot of formulas that are built on success, you know, like you can if you hear a band that's already really popular and you can figure out how to replicate that sound to a high degree, like there's a good chance you will become popular too. But for me it was always like I'd rather just make something that's completely unique to myself by kind of losing myself in it than like hearing something and being like, oh, you know, I like that, I want to make something that sounds like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, nah, for better or for worse, just like seeing what happens that day. Yeah. And there are a lot of days too, if I'm writing a song where like I'll cycle through like two or three ideas before I get one that I continue with, which can be frustrating. You can spend 2 hours messing around with chords and a beat and some whatever on a track and only to be like, I hate this, scrap it. But then the next idea can be good. You never know. It's like, it's weird, you know, like pulling from the pool of inspiration. It's like you never know like what you're gonna get. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it takes a bit of a dive and like just sticking with it. It's like, all right, nothing's cool yet, but then once you hit it, you're like, yes, that's it. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of inspiration, what are some things that Um, very sort of general question, I guess. What are some sort of things that really you find that are most inspiring to you in terms of creating your music?
Yeah. I think for me it's like just having experiences that make me feel like I'm like actually in the real world. You
Yeah,
know, like we as a society, I think we spend so much time kind of living in this like almost like, it's like a made up world, like social media and like your bank account, all this stuff. It's like it's real, yeah, but also like you look around and like this is reality. So
yeah,
those experiences that make me feel like I'm within the real world, I think somehow they translate into my music. It's not like I see like a tree or like a painting and I'm like, oh, you know what, this makes me think of this musical idea, I'm gonna make that. It's like if I go out, say on like a backpacking trip or just even like a good hike or just have a good day, like hanging out at like a river, I'll come home and the next day I'll make the music and it's just easier. That's kind of how it is. It's just becomes easier when I'm doing enjoyable things with my life.
yeah,
Whereas like if I'm like holed up in the studio working on music like 6 hours a day for like 2 weeks straight, which I've done plenty of times before. Like I can crank out music, but it's not as easy as it should be. It's only when I take a step back that it becomes easier. It's like I gotta like live real life, or I don't know. It doesn't feel the music doesn't feel organic, I guess.
yeah. It's like you need
Yeah,
that body mind reset that the
exactly.
outdoors and other like real life activities can offer.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess yeah. The short answer is like the outdoors is what inspires me, but it's just because it's where I get that sense of like um yeah, like it fills up my soul in a way, which then translates into the music. And I'm sure that's different for everybody. Like everybody has like their activities that make them feel that way.
Yeah,
And
for
for
sure.
me, it's just like, yeah, type two fun, like out in the woods, like stuff where half the time I'm like, oh, this kind of sucks. But then afterwards, you're like, okay, that was good. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. It's I don't know if I mentioned this earlier when we finished talking about the outdoor stuff, but just like total mad respect for you on that. Like just being able to like trek through the mountains and different terrains like that, and on some of these long journeys that you go on, that is like super impressive. By the way, so I just want to say major props for that. Um,
Thanks, man.
yeah, landing back to the going back to the music stuff. I want to transition into talking about live performance. You mentioned something a little bit about this earlier, which is actually kind of one of the questions I had for you. Um, you mentioned the stress of performing live, and you covered it basically earlier. You wear a lot of hats. You're doing a lot of different things live. Being a solo musician on stage, no other live band members or whatever. You're you're doing vocals. You're remembering all these lyrics actively. Your mind's in a lot of different places, playing keyboard parts live, activating different drum samples and stuff like that. You mentioned it being stressful. Do you enjoy that? Is that something that you like want to continue to do more of, or was it sort of just like you kind of want to disperse it evenly with creating music, or like what do you see the outlook for live performances for you
Yeah.
as you move forward?
Yeah, no, that loaded question, for
Sorry, it's a
me.
lot. It's kind of
No, no, no.
scrambled a little bit
No,
there.
no, 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 not in that way. Just in yeah, live performance for me is like a very it's like not a topic that I like. I don't know, it's like it's weird. It can be really fun and it can be the worst thing ever. It like totally varies on show to show.
Mm,
I've had some of my coolest moments on stage and I've had some of my worst moments on stage. So it's definitely different. I think, if I lived in my perfect world, I'd probably be, primarily a recording artist. Like I would much rather be focused on making music and recording music and releasing music as opposed to playing it live. Especially because, I'm an electronic musician and there's a reason where like 9 out of 10 times you go to see an electronic musician, they're going to be DJing. And that's because the music, it's not really made to be played live. Like this isn't a guitar and a bass and a drum set. Um, so it can be really hard to translate that into a live setting. And it's tough. Like I can, obviously I want to continue to play live for a couple reasons. Like I would love to get a chance to go like, travel like at least Europe, like dare I say the world, sure. Like in Asia tour would be sick too. But like it would just be cool to like, get that opportunity. Not many jobs you could say in life give you the opportunity to go do something like that. So it's like for those goals, it's definitely worthwhile. Um, I mean, I hate to say it, but in reality, like financially, if you're trying to be a musician, or the way that our streaming services are set up is like, you can make a little bit of money off royalties, but you're getting like the short end of the stick with every service. So they make it really, really hard for you to survive off, say, something like royalties, or record sales or any of that. So live music is kind of where the paycheck is. So it's like you got to play live for that as well. Um, and it can be really rewarding. I think for me, the coolest thing is when I play live. These days, people will come out that really love my music, and I haven't. I'm not like aware of these things. Like I feel very much like I just do my music and I put it out and I don't think much about it. So when people come out to the shows and they're stoked, it's like, "Oh, this is having more of an impact than I'm necessarily aware of." So I love all that stuff, but it can be stressful, and I think for me it's tough because as I mentioned before, my music isn't really made to be played live. So when I play live, like it's just me, and I'm doing a lot of stuff, but I'm not able to like run around the stage and like be super theatrical, and that's what audiences primarily want these days. I'm a pretty low key person when I play live. Like it's not in my nature to be like, I'm not an entertainer. Um, so it can be tough because I think a lot of times, like, because I took 3 years off. No, I took 5 years off of playing live, and I just started playing live again last July.
Right.
So it's been about a solid year of playing live again, and it's still like something I guess I wish I didn't necessarily have to do, but it is rewarding. I think I just wish that I could find a way to like entertain the crowd more, because I get the feeling that like they want to be entertained, and which is awesome, but it's not really my thing. So maybe someday when like the project is like bigger and there's more money involved, I could be able to have like a really cool visual show, like a lot of
Yeah.
um these like DJs and stuff have. Like there's a reason why when you see a DJ, there's like 50,000 massive screens and crazy lights and stuff. It's because that's compensating for this person just standing there. So it's like I'm in the same boat. Like I need something to entertain the crowds, and like these days it's not just like, for if people are big fans, then it is just you being there and that experience, but for a lot of people, like, they do want more. So
Yeah.
it's something that at this point in my career, like I definitely struggle with, is like how to bring that entertainment value to the live set. But it's like the music to me, it's about the music, and playing live is like a byproduct of the music.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, it's just like it's kind of a weird thing in my life, like because I love music, but I'm just not like much of a performer.
That's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
There's been a ton of like stellar musicians. I could name a couple right now that like were just stellar musicians, and their stage performance isn't like super extravagant or really physically moving around the stage a bunch and everything like
yeah,
that, and it's perfectly fine. I think it
yeah,
just really depends, and I think if that's what people will accept you for that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's like it's okay. Like
Sometimes I almost think it's kind of strange how they're I could be wrong about this, but at least I feel like if you're like a solo performer and you're mellow, it's cool as long as you have a guitar. But if you don't have a guitar,
uh
then it's like people, I don't know, they like want something else. Like
yeah.
it's weird. It's like guitar music still has this ability to allow you to be like super chill and just being yourself on stage. But a lot of electronic music, like it doesn't really get that same whatever.
Yeah.
It's weird. Music is super complicated, and my music is strange because it's electronic, but I'm primarily always playing with mostly bands. I play with shows with a lot of bands that
Yeah.
maybe have one synth, but most of the time they don't have a synth, or it's just like I'm almost in like two worlds, as a performer.
Yeah.
It's strange. Yeah.
Um, you kind of alluded to it a second ago, but I just want to directly ask, um, having like filling out sports coach with, in terms of live purposes with other musicians, like live musicians, is that something you would ever be open to? Or like, hey, I need a drummer? I mean, because you hear that a lot. There'll be some electronic music where there's electronic samples and everything, but they have live drummer performances and whatever else. Maybe it's a synth bass part, but you have just like a live, bass guitar player or
Yeah.
something like that. Is that anything you'd ever be open to? Or are you just kind of like, nah, I like doing it solo and I'm just going to probably keep rolling that way?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely be open to it because it would be way more fun and way less pressure. But for me, the only reasons I haven't done it is one, like, financially, I'm not necessarily super able to, because like if I'm gonna have a band, like being a musician that like went to school to be a musician, like I believe musicians like should be paid. There are a lot of bands where like they're not really actually making a whole lot of like money after the show, just because like there's five people and they got to pay for gas and they got to pay for food and they need somewhere to stay. So it's like
Right.
all that really adds up, where like I would love to do that, but I'd want everybody to be like treated fairly. And at this point in my career, it's not super easy. And then the other reason is, my music, it's all like all over the place how it's been recorded. And there's so many tracks that were on hard drives that are gone, or on my computer that was stolen, or like all
Mm,
these things where I just
right.
don't, yeah, I don't have the ability to like break things down super easily and even figure things out, because I do things by ear. And I'm pretty bad at writing stuff down. There are a lot of songs where I'm like, what were the chords? Like, and I'll mess around and try to find them, and like I
Right.
can't find them. So that reason, and then but it is something I would love to do. I also just need to meet the right people. I'm a bit of a hermit. Like I don't really like get out much, and I don't live in a city at all, so I'm not around like that whole like LA music scene, like, yo, you need a bass player, my friend, you need whatever. So there's a many reasons. I would definitely love to do it. Like I think the future of the project, like if it continues and continues to grow, then there would be a future where like there would be multiple people playing, and also like a more engaging live show. But
Cool.
it's just kind of right now, like I'm just still I just still feel like a dude in my room making music that I like upload to the internet, and I sit back and I'm like, hopefully this
Right
hits.
on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just tough to think of myself like getting the band together and rehearsing and all that. Like I'd love to make it happen, but I'm just, yeah,
Yeah. Cross that
yeah,
bridge when you get there.
yeah, that kind of thing. Like
Totally.
I still feel very new to playing live again. After taking 5 years off, like coming back to it is like a fish out of the water. And even in this past year, my oh, nice little bird, my
Beautiful.
yeah, my sets changed like three or four times, like in terms of how I'm performing. Um, yeah, it's ever evolving, basically.
Cool. Awesome. Um, let's shift to the future. So, talk, we can talk just about like band members or whatever, but I want to talk about your material, the new album.
Cool, man.
Um, so you set a release date. I believe it's Tuesday, September 30th. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly, man.
Right. September 30th. You got 18 songs, and the title is On the Mountain Above the Cloud. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah.
Cool title, by the way. Love that
Thanks.
title. I think it's one of those things like where if you've been in that situation, which I'm nowhere near the outdoorsy person that you are, but I have been in my previous career, like, you know, it was out and about. I was, going to people's houses and stuff like that. And it's up in the mountains in Topanga.
Okay.
And there's some areas in Topanga where you are like above the clouds. And that is a super trippy feeling. Like, and
Yeah.
I know you've experienced that before, hence the title.
Yeah.
But, probably several times over you've experienced that. But, anyways, really cool title. So, about the new album, what sort of fun things should we expect on that? What are you most excited about? Are there any sort of new lyrical themes or um, any sort of different arrangement approaches or new equipment you might hear, or maybe just whatever you're most excited about.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah.
want to share about the new album?
I mean, I would say that I guess I'm most excited about it as a release. Like it's definitely, I guess I'll rephrase. It's the release I'm most excited about of my whole discography. And I
Awesome.
think the main reason is because it's super eclectic, stylistically, in terms of like all these different genres I've messed with over the course of my like career. I tap into like a bunch of them on the record. Like there's some very lo-fi, kind of almost like dark wave songs, and then there's like a little bit of like more of a accessible pop sound in a couple tracks. There's some tracks that are like almost kind of like new age electronic vibes. And then there's like, plenty of like standard, like in the middle sports coach tracks. So it's got a ton of different stuff. And I pulled from like a couple things. Like I wrote the bulk of the album in like this past winter, basically like February to March. And then as I was completing it, I still had songs like that I'd been working on. As I mentioned before, like my computer getting stolen on tour in January,
Yep.
that had a bunch of tracks, close to 30 that I had recorded from like that July in like to that December. So like 6 months of work, and I lost most of them, but I did have some of them on Google Drive, like ones
Oh
that I
yeah,
was
yeah.
kind of more excited about. So I went through those and I was like, these aren't final mixes, but like it's close enough. And I do want this music to see the light of day. So I put some of those on there, a couple like standout ones. And then, yeah, making music on different equipment, like over the years, sometimes stuff gets lost. And I had some tracks that were just on my SP404 sampler that I don't even know. I must have been like messing around with playing them live, but I went through those and I was like, oh, there's a couple random little ones in here. So I threw like two of those on there, which were probably recorded in like 2019 when I was like in my van. So they're like, van tracks. Um, and yeah, so I just put a couple different, there's like a couple different times in my life almost represented on the record, which is cool.
That's neat.
Yeah, and then it's going to be on vinyl too, which is exciting.
Awesome.
Because I only have like one other record, so I'm excited to have a physical record of like this album that I feel like really encompasses me as like a person over like my adulthood, I guess. Like 2019 to 2025, a lot of different changes in those years for me. So I'm excited to have it out.
Yeah.
It was again like recorded, mixed, and mastered by me. So I do wish that like there are times when I'm like, I would love to get to a point where like I could work with a professional mixing engineer, professional mastering engineer, and just like really make a record where I'm like, okay, this could not be any better. But it's definitely like I was just getting to a point where I was just getting like, mixer brain. Like you start to feel like you're ruining the song.
Skeleton at the mixing board. You seen that meme?
No, I haven't,
It's
but
like the mix is almost done. It's a skeleton. Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know that was exactly how I was feeling.
Totally
So
get it.
I kind of had to be like, you know what, this is the best I can do at this period of my life, and I think this represents me as a human being, and isn't that what the whole point is? Especially with my project, is it feels like a just an extension of myself. So I guess it feels right that it's like it's an imperfect project, but I'm super excited to share it, and I just hope that it doesn't end up like I put so much into it that these days when you put out a record, like you have like less than a 2 week lifespan for that thing half the time. So I just hope that people do enjoy it and it kind of gets around a little bit, but yeah, it was a hard album to make. Like I put a lot into that one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure everybody's gonna love it. Everybody who listens to your music, and I'm sure you'll gain some more followers along the way.
Thanks, man.
Um, I hadn't had in mind to ask this, but um, it just made me think of kind of very random question here. But just you mentioned your music being in skateboard videos and everything. I just thought that was super cool.
Oh,
Like,
cool, man.
yeah, like I think it'd be fun, like to have your music and just in different aspects and being shown in different places like that. So how did that come about?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean it just kind of gets around like with the skateboard videos specifically to me that's super cool because that was my first exposure to like really cool music in my opinion was through skate videos.
Right.
I grew up like skateboarding and it was a huge part of my childhood. I guess that was kind of like the one sport you could say. Back then, it wasn't really a sport. Now it's like in the Olympics and stuff. But yeah, oh, this truck's gonna be super loud. I don't know. But anyway, nice. Yeah, I got really into that, and it exposed me to a bunch of bands like New Order, Joy Division, Interpol, a bunch of random stuff, and that inspired me a lot. So when I see like people using it, it's cool. It hasn't been used by like any, big skate companies or big videos, but I've got these like this crew of skaters in South America that are super into it, and they use a lot of it. I think they're primarily in Ecuador, and like yeah, so they use it, and it's just cool to see like you know, one skateboarding, which I love, and two with my music. Like it's awesome. And people have used it for all kinds of stuff though, from like snowboarding edits to wakeboarding edits to I did get one really cool placement in this like actual mega professional surf full length video like last year. This magazine called Stab. They did a big video with Monster and one of my coworkers, I think, was like knows the guy that was making the video, and he was like, "Yo, if you need music, like check out one of my coworkers." And so I was able to get a placement in that, which was pretty sick
That's
because it
awesome.
has like some of the biggest surf pros in the world. But yeah, I would love for that to happen. Like as much as I think surfing is cool, if that were to happen in skateboarding, like if Trans World used the track or something, I'd be like,
Right.
"Whoa, that's like full circle, big time."
Yeah, for me that's
Yeah.
like BMX. We grew up doing
Oh,
BMX stuff.
cool.
I heard a lot of bands, through that, like the Sea and Cake and whoever else,
Oh,
all
nice.
these other, just interesting. Me, all it was like what was the skateboard version where it was like a company that was regular making videos. What were they called?
Oh well, there
Was
was
it
a
Trans World? Was that what it was? That's what you just mentioned.
yeah, yeah. Well, they've always done videos. Yeah, they're like mainly a magazine, but a lot of
Yeah.
cool videos.
For BMX, it was Props. It was called Props.
Oh,
So like,
cool.
oh, cool, the new Props video is out, and like, just have like all this super cool music, and that's how like kind of full circle with this whole location being here in Ventura County now. Growing up out in the desert, we'd always come out here to Ventura and ride at a place called Skate Street that used to exist out there. I don't think it does anymore.
Oh, cool.
But after that, there's the record store Salzers.
Uh huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd always pop into Salzers and grab a CD and stuff. And that was you know before streaming and all that. So like finding sort of unique niche music was like it's like, oh wow, this really felt like a gold mine. Some really cool
Yeah.
unique stuff that you weren't exposed to otherwise. And I was very
Totally.
young at the time, so it was cool. That was a lot of my main exposure. So we both share that, like
Yeah.
skateboarding, bike riding, all this cool music that was in the video. So anyway, I just thanks for sharing about it. I just
Yeah.
kind of on the fly just wanted to ask about the skateboard video stuff. And that's cool, and your music can match so many different vibes. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about your stuff. It could match a lot of vibes. Just throw it on, sports coach, cool, ready to go,
Cool,
instantly
man.
vibing. So
That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wrapping up here, is there anything else that you want to mention or plug right now as we conclude?
Oh man, I would say. I mean, definitely the album's coming out September 30th, so scope that out when it's there. There's gonna be a release show for it in Los Angeles in October. We haven't announced the date yet. We're like finalizing the bill, but that's gonna be a really cool show. It's got an awesome promoter. Um, yeah, I guess I can say because it's yeah. I mean, not officially announced. It's gonna be at Moroccan Lounge.
Cool.
So it'll be a good show all around. So I'm excited for that. Keep an eye out for the release or the announcement, and yeah, then I'm doing a couple shows with this band from Portland, VHS Ghost, in November. We're gonna be doing like at least four, maybe six. So I guess you could call it like a mini tour. But yeah, so that'll be like November like 19th through like the 23rd or 4th or something. So anyway, like yeah, if you're into that stuff, come out to a show,
Awesome. That's
Yeah,
great.
that's about it.
Yeah, super good. Well, thank you so much for your time. And once again, thanks for your hospitality. Such a cool location you got here. just very suitable for your interest in the outdoors. It's just beautiful. I've really enjoyed this quite a bit. So thank you so
Thanks,
much,
man.
man.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
All right, awesome. Thank you, everyone. I'm Jacob, and this is Thatcher from Sports Coach.
Yeah, peace.